My name is Alexander DeVol, and I am going to teach you the history behind the legendary B-25 Mitchell. The B-25 Mitchell was named after General Billy Mitchell. He helped pioneer U.S. military aviation. The B-25 Mitchell first took flight in 1940. The specs of the B-25B, which is one of the many different variations that the B-25 Mitchell was. It had the B-25B had two 1,700 horsepower double cyclone 14-cylinder engines. It had a max speed of 300 miles per hour at 15,000 feet. The maximum height that the B-25B could reach is 23,500 feet. The plane's range is 2,000 miles while carrying 3,000 pounds of munitions. The wingspan of the B-25B is 68 feet, while the length of the plane is 53 feet. Its fuel tank could hold 692 gallons. The B-25 had many different variations depending on the type of mission it was going on. An example is that the B-25H and B-25G were both used to attack shipping and do strafing runs. Both the B-25H and B-25G were both equipped with 75mm cannons and 4 machine guns on its nose for extra firepower. What made the bomber so notorious and famous was the Doolittle Raid. The Doolittle Raid was where 16 B-25B Mitchells took off from an aircraft carrier, which was an incredible task because people did not think that a medium bomber would be able to gain enough speed to take off from an aircraft carrier. People thought it might just end up in the ocean. So this definitely was an experiment. The purpose of the Doolittle Raid was that this was the only way that a bomber could get in range of Japanese mainland. The Doolittle Raid allowed for the bombing of airfields and the crippling of Japanese shipping. Even though the Doolittle Raid did little damage to Japanese mainland, it did give a morale boost to Americans due to that they thought they are starting to get revenge for Pearl Harbor, and it did cast down Japan due to that they thought they were untouchable, and now they realize they won't. In total of the 16 B-25Bs that took off that day, none were able to make it back, and this was due to they didn't have enough fuel, and also that if you thought taking off from an aircraft carrier was hard, imagine landing back on one. So they all crashed in China. Luckily, the Chinese civilians hated the Japanese much as the Americans did. This was due to one of the many atrocities the Japanese committed against the Chinese. An example is the rape of Nanking. So the Chinese civilians helped the Americans get back to the U.S. Safely. To even be able to get to the Japanese mainland, they had to fill their tanks with 1,141 gallons of fuel for each bomber, which was more than they're usually filled up with. The usual amount is 692, so. But they also tried reducing the weight of the plane by removing the belly turrets. This caused the plane to be extremely vulnerable to attacks, and so as you can imagine, the crew of the bombers were very nervous. Something also that you might not have heard of is that the story of the B-25 Mitchell that crashed into the Empire State Building. The reason that this happened was not due to the pilot being inexperienced. The pilot actually was a very experienced pilot. The problem was that it was a very foggy day, and the pilot could barely see in front of him at all. And by the time the pilot saw the Empire State Building ahead of him, it was too late to react, and the pilot crashed into it. Luckily, this happened on a Sunday, so the Empire State Building was mostly empty. But unfortunately, there was a Catholic charity group and observers on the top floor that were killed due to the plane crashing in Empire State Building. Luckily, I was able to experience flying in a B-25. The one I flew in was the B-25J Mitchell. This plane has been restored from World War II, and it was the PBJ variant of it. It's the last one of its kind currently. This experience helped me understand the crew's perspective and what it was like flying in one. I did not realize how loud it was or how cramped until now. This was a great experience. I enjoyed a lot and has really improved my knowledge of it.